The Olympics are right around the corner. We're a little over a month away. Hopefully, there's a damn rink built by then, but the rosters for Team Canada have just been announced. So, this is my very honest thoughts on the roster, why they're sending this group of 25 players, why they snubbed some players, why they didn't, and what this team looks like when they hit the ice come February. So let's start off with the locks, the players who we already know are going to be on the team way back. First, you got the captain, Sidney Crosby, the 38-year-old legend who may very well be competing in his last Olympics, still has a ton of juice left in his game. Next, you got the dog, Nathan MacKinnon. This man is having a season for the ages, on pace for almost 70 goals on the season. Next is Connor McDavid, the most talented hockey player we've ever seen on a current hot stretch that may be the most productive of his career. Next, you got the best defenseman in the world in Cale Makar. 4 generational talents, followed up by Sam Reinhart and Braden Point as the other locks. Of all those guys, they're all pretty much no-brainers except for maybe Braden Point, who's had an off year due to injuries and overall inconsistent play. But when he's on, he's a 50-goal scorer, big game player, and I think he will get better as the tournament continues to progress. So those are the locks, but here's the full roster, and right now we're going to go through the most notable differences between the Four Nations team and this Olympic team. So in is Macklin Celebrini, Bo Horvat, Tom Wilson, Nick Suzuki, Darcy Kemper, and Logan Thompson, and out is Travis Konechny, Seth Jarvis, Sam Bennett, Aiden Hill, and Samuel Montembeault. Now that we have a clear picture of the forward group, this is what I think Canada is going to deploy when it comes to puck drop in February. Let's start with line one. I doubt they're going to change anything from the Four Nations. We're going with Mark Stone on the left, Connor McDavid on center, and Braden Point on the right wing. Some people had Stone as a potential fringe player earlier in the year due to injuries and overall foot speed, but he's far too intelligent of a player to be left off of this team. He kills penalties, he steals pucks better than almost anyone else, and in the Four Nations last year, he played pretty well with McDavid. Obviously, everything will shuffle to adjust for certain games and line combinations, but the thinking here is that Connor McDavid is a one-of-a-kind player, and he can enhance anyone's game. You want to have players that not only can play fast, but can think fast too. Mark Stone does that, contrary to what people think about pairing his foot speed with McDavid's. Typically, McDavid's game usually thrives as a player who can slow things down. The best example being Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent-Hopkins. All those players aren't as fast as McDavid, but they add a different gear from McDavid's speed, which can add a unique layer to Canada's attack. Now, I think this top line is going to be subject to a lot of change because last year, the wingers changed as the game went on. They moved Marner to the right wing to replace Stone and shifted Point to the left wing at times. There's a lot of bouncing around on that right wing on the top line to see what fits with McDavid. That's an area where I can see Celebrini being a nice fit. Then you go to the second line, if you can even call it that. I mean, just listen to this line. You got Crosby on the left wing, McKinnon on the dot, and Sam Reinhart on the right wing. Yes, I know. Crosby is a center through and through, but because of his age and slowing foot speed, Canada did prefer having McKinnon's speed up the middle. We saw this last year in the Four Nations. Sid is so intelligent that he can play anywhere. The same with McKinnon and again Reinhart. All three of those guys had chemistry in the Four Nations, and I'd imagine that they'd keep that line together. Then you have your third line of Hagel on the left wing, Suzuki on center, and Mitch Marner on the right wing. This is basically your protection blanket line. All really solid two-way guys that protect the puck really well by taking care of their possessions. They all track incredibly well too, coming back to break up plays, and obviously there's a ton of offensive flair there as well. The only concerning part with this line may be size, which is why I think they could also slot in Tom Wilson onto this line, but if you're trying to shut down the other team and you want responsible players out there, these three guys are going to do a good job. I could also see them switching Mitch Marner out here with Mark Stone if they want a more defensive focus on that third line. In the Four Nations last year, Marner did start out on the third line, and then halfway through the game, they switched both he and Stone to have McDavid play with a more offensively minded player. Really, can't go wrong. Marner did feed McDavid for the golden goal in the Four Nations, so I'd imagine that they'd probably go back to that look at least once or twice in this tournament. Then on the fourth line, you got Brad Marchand, Anthony Cirelli, and Tom Wilson, and what we're calling the piece of shit line. They could have really enhanced this if they took Sam Bennett, and I'm not crazy about them leaving Sam Bennett out, two-time cup winner and a massive goal tied up in the Four Nations last year. But I think the reason they want Cirelli over Bennett is because Cirelli kills penalties. Obviously, you have the connection between him and the coach John Cooper too, but Tampa has one of of the best penalty killers in the league right now, and their go-to PK1 line is Hagel and Cirelli. In the biggest moments last year, John Cooper trusts those two guys more than anyone, and then on top of that, he'd roll out Marner and Stone as the second pair, and that's where I think Suzuki is really valuable to this team. He's a right shot center who kills penalties also. Last year at times, when they had a face-off and the top PK of Cirelli and Hagel couldn't go because they were tired, they would send out Reinhardt out there to take the draw. It would be like a Fogo, face-off, get-off type of situation. Reinhardt would take the draw and then change with Marner almost instantly, but having Suzuki there as a natural center in those moments is huge for Canada. Now, on that fourth line, I do also want to highlight Brad Marchand. He didn't look great at the Four Nations last year, but ever since being traded to Florida, enjoying the beach beers and knowing what it's like to play in the sunshine, he is showing that he's still a gamer and can play in the biggest situations while being one of the best players in those situations. Canada is already short of natural left wingers. Marchand is a natural one, and he can slide up and down the lineup no problem. Tom Wilson is also the other lock for me too. He started off as a bubble player, didn't make the team last year, but this season he's proven that he belongs with this group. Wilson is actually far more of an intelligent player than people think. He's one of, if not the NHL's best power forward that can do all the things a power forward is expected to do, but he's also really good at playing within the soft areas of coverage. The Virtual Hockey Scout had a great breakdown on his game, which I'll link in the description down below, but his ozone spacing is incredibly patient and calculated for a big man known to be a wrecking ball. Because of that, he's become a pretty lethal trigger man for the Caps and hopefully for Canada also. Not to mention, one of his hits can single-handedly swing the momentum of any game. So he's on the team. Now, getting into the extras here is where we get into some controversy. Now, I don't think I agree with this, but I do think that Celebrini will be an extra to at least start the tournament, just because he's a teenager and they might want to ease him into it, but I think that he should get a top 6 role on this team. Celebrini's on pace this year to hit 100 points in 65 games. The only other teenager in NHL history to do it faster than that is Wayne Gretzky. He's got the motor to play in a bottom 6 role. He's got the skill and talent to play in a top 6 role. I think they should have him in the starting lineup, but I don't know if they try and play it safe. Obviously, he's a natural center, but him being a left-handed shot, they can easily shift him to the left wing spot to get some extra offensive insurance if need be. And the last forward to make the cut is going to be Bo Horvat. GM Doug Armstrong said in his press conference that they just like the versatility that Horvat brings. He mentioned last year that he played on the left wing with McKinnon in the World Championships, which is important considering Canada is already short of left wingers. But again, he's a natural center who kills penalties, can play on the power play as a PP2 option, and he's the best face-off player on the team. He's operating at nearly 60% there, which could be huge in very tight games or a defensive zone draw. He's having a hot year, but bringing him over Bennett with all that Bennett has done given his track record is surprising to me, but I do get it. Of course, what this all means is that Connor Bedard doesn't crack Team Canada. I personally think he earned this spot on the team, but his injury is at a terrible time. For me, Bedard's game this year has made unbelievable strides. He improved his defense, he got better on draws, his compete has gotten a lot better, and his foot speed has improved dramatically. I just don't think Canada would trust him entirely in a bottom 6 role, so automatically he becomes less versatile there. And so if you select Bedard, you forego another player who's a little bit more versatile in other situations of that game in that role. The good news is that Connor Bedard is skating. I hope we see him back very soon, and I do think he would be the next man up depending on if someone gets hurt. Obviously, some will see that as a big mistake, leaving that type of offensive talent at home. And to me, that's hard to argue. You know, Bedard could step into a top 6 role and thrive. I mean, look at what he's doing on the Chicago Blackhawks. I just think Canada, more than anything in this roster selection, is valuing versatility and bringing on a player who can check and play a two-way game in almost every situation. Bedard has shown that he can do that, but I just don't think it's fully up to the standard they're looking for when bringing on an extra body. Now, they may not trust Bedard being up by a goal, but if they're down by a goal, I sure as hell want him on the ice. Like I said, I know versatility and having players that can play in any situation is the key for Canada, but the hardest thing to do is score goals, and Connor Bedard is one of the best in the world at it. Either way, this may be the biggest snub since Canada left Sidney Crosby off the squad in 2006, and they ended up finishing 10th in that tournament. So they're hoping that that won't be the case this year. Then you have the defense where Canada went with the exact 8 they brought at the Four Nations. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So let's start with the first pair. The first pairing is going to be Devon Taves and Cale Makar. Second pairing is Josh Morrissey and Colton Parayko. Third is Shea Theodore and Drew Doughty. So let's just break this down for a second. Makar and Taves are arguably the best D pairing in the sport. Cale Makar is a generational defenseman who dictates the entire flow of a game, but what enhances him is a D partner who can play off of his reads and act as an extension of him. Both are so damn good at closing up gaps in the middle of the ice with their skating, and this pair will be at the core of everything for Canada. Next is Morrissey and Parayko. Parayko is another player who everyone was on the fence about, mostly because St. Louis is having a bad year, but Parayko at his best does belong in this team. He shoots right, he kills penalties, and for a big man at 6'6", 230, he's among the best in the league on retrievals. He showed a ton of poise in the Four Nations, being able to go back there and get pucks under pressure, even as a big man. He can use his frame to allow him to win these stalled pucks down low below the goal line and help Canada get moving north quickly. Obviously, the bonus points is that he shoots right, kills penalties, and the GM of Canada is also Blues GM Doug Armstrong, so there's trust there, which is why he's on the squad. Drew Doughty is also the ultimate been there and done that guy, so he has a spot on the team. And Shea Theodore made this team last year, but got hurt at the beginning of the Four Nations tourney. He can also play the left and right side, which is very important if they need to shuffle things around due to injury. So that leaves the extras being Travis Sanheim and Thomas Harley, which definitely is going to cause some debates. It's clear that Canada really valued how both of these guys stepped up when needed last year during the Four Nations. Both Makar and Morrissey went down last year, and Sanheim as well as Harley stepped up big time. Sanheim kills penalties, he can play both sides, so can Harley, but there's going to be some debate here because Harley hasn't exactly had the best year. And so with both of those two extra defensemen, that leaves out Jacob Chychrun, Evan Bouchard, and Matthew Schaefer. Schaefer was likely the closest to taking that spot, even as an 18-year-old rookie. He averages 23 minutes a night, his advanced numbers are off the charts, and his game, like Celebrini's, is far ahead of his years. This is Canada's future on defense, but again, experience seems to take precedent in this decision. Chychrun is having a monster year. He did all he could. He leads all the D-men in goals this year. He's great when 5-on-5, which is a plus, but it just comes down to overall versatility. He doesn't kill penalties, and his defensive game doesn't seem up to Canada's standard, at least compared to the other 8 guys that they're bringing. As for Evan Bouchard, the only way I think he'd make this team is if Cale Makar went down with an injury and they need an offensive juggernaut who's right-handed to come in and fill his place. Bouchard has shown in the past 2 playoffs that he can produce in the biggest moments, but he's also shown at times to be a defensive liability, being everyone's favorite pizza delivery guy with some borderline hilarious turnovers. Considering the talent level of the Olympics and what's at stake, I think Canada decided to forego that style of game and overall risk. Finally, we have the goaltending. It is an embarrassment of riches up front and on D, but the crease is a bit thinner right away. The starter is going to be Logan Thompson at number 1. Thompson got snubbed last year for making Team Canada, but this year he's showing it ain't no fluke. Statistically and visually, he's by far Canada's best option in net. He leads the entire league in goals saved above expected. The numbers don't lie again, which is what makes this an easy pick for Canada. Now, the other new goalie they're bringing on for Canada is Darcy Kemper, which could surprise some people. He's near the top of the league in terms of save percentage and goals against, but you'll notice that both Mackenzie Blackwood and Scotty Wedgwood are ahead of him. The Avs goaltending tandem has been incredible this season, but like almost every controversial decision with this roster, Canada went with sample size and experience. Wedgwood and Blackwood bring a whole lot of wood in net and solid numbers, but lack experience. Aside from this season, Wedgwood has been a career backup, and Blackwood has only played 7 career playoff games. They also may have felt that the Avs D-core has helped elevated some of those numbers. As for Kemper, he's having a great year, and he's a Stanley Cup winner. Then you have Jordan Binnington. If Binnington didn't save Canada's ass last year with his all-time clutch performance in the final versus USA, I don't think he'd be making this team. This guy statistically is one of, if not the worst goalie in the NHL this year. Of course, being on St. Louis doesn't help, but Binnington hasn't been playing great at all. By every metric, it's ugly, and overall, he's not had a good season whatsoever. But damn it, there is something to be said about Big Game Binnington, and it's why pretty much he's an auto lock on this team, because he's won in the biggest moments. But he just doesn't get nervous. It's clear he's Canada's guilty pleasure of a pick solely because they need a guy who's been there and done that in the crease as recently as last season. Now, quickly, I'll just give my thoughts on this team. I think any combination of these rosters is a gold medal caliber team. Personally, I would have brought Connor Bedard or Sam Bennett over one of Sorelli, Stone, or Horvat. I would have liked to have seen Schaefer get in as well over Harley. I think Celebrini is also going to play his way into a top 6 role. I don't know who sits in that situation, but he's just so dynamic. I think he finds a way to either fit on McDavid's line or Crosby's line. Like always with these tournaments, Canada isn't looking to bring the best 25 players in the nation. They're looking to bring the best possible team. And if the hockey is anything like it was in the Four Nations, which was extremely tight checking all throughout the tournament, I do think that this is the right roster, especially with the rink being a tad smaller too. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who do you think is the biggest snub of this roster? Also, if you want to check out how the smaller rink could impact the Olympic Games come February, check out our video right here. And if you want to check out other videos, including recaps and other breakdowns, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a thing.